Sunday night game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks, and what a game this was. As somebody who started Chris Carson and quickly realized, oh shit, the Minnesota Vikings offense and their game plan is to kill the clock and run it down as much as possible, I did not feel great about how this game was going to go. So the Vikings lose to Seattle, it turns out. The Seahawks beat Minnesota by a final score of 27-26. Seahawks improved to 5-0. The Vikings 1-4. Kirk Cousins 27 of 39 for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had 2 turnovers as well, an interception and a fumble. Dalvin Cook left this game in the third quarter with a groin injury, but besides that, he was balling out. Cook 17 carries, 5 of 5 through the air for 89 total yards and a touchdown. Alexander Mattison in place of Dalvin Cook, 20 carries, 3 of 3 through the air and 136 total yards. So that offense just kept rolling in the run game without Cook on the field. And Adam Thielen balled out as well, 9 of 13, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Seattle Seahawks and this offense is the most fun thing to watch in the NFL this season. Russell Wilson cooks again, 20 of 32, 217 yards, 58 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, also had an interception. Chris Carson, 8 carries, 6 of 7 through the air, 79 total yards, and a monster touchdown where he basically just ran through the Minnesota Vikings. And DK Metcalf balls out for the 5th straight week of the year. 11 targets, 6 receptions for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also the game-winning touchdown. Basically his time expired in this game. And Tyler Lockett, 4 of 5 for 44 yards, the letdown game for him. DK Metcalf is the only player with 90-plus receiving yards every single week to start the 2020 season. I'm so excited to talk about this game. So, I quickly realized that that Minnesota's plan was to kill clock. And if you guys remember, if you guys watched this game, the plan was, not even the plan. As this game quickly rolled, the Seattle Seahawks got their second possession with 7 minutes left in the second quarter. It was one of those things where the time of possession early on in the game was 15-5, I believe, at halftime. 15 minutes to 5. No, that doesn't make sense. No, right. So it'd be for the second, right, middle second quarter. The time of possession was 15 minutes to 5. It was insane. And the Vikings' plan was just to run the ball, kill the clock. And honestly, not a bad strategy when you're facing Russell Wilson, who is the league's MVP at this point of the season, who is lighting every single team that he faces on fire. And that strategy proved very well for fantasy purposes, with Dalvin Cook balling out, Alexander Mattison taking over and coming in and doing the exact same thing. Obviously, you probably weren't starting Alexander Mattison, all things considered, because Dalvin Cook was healthy entering this game. But just to see both guys play well actually has to be encouraging for the Dalvin Cook owner, who probably should own Alexander Mattison as a safety option, because now you have the confidence that if Dalvin Cook misses a few games with this groin injury, or a game, should I say, I think he's going to miss. He tried to come back, played one snap, and was like, nah, I can't do it, and then that's when Mattison took over for the rest of the game. So if Dalvin Cook misses next week, Alexander Mattison came in and proved to you that he can be started. During Cook's absence. Adam Thielen, balling out, the number one option for Kirk Cousins and this Vikings team, gets in the end zone twice, 90-plus receiving yards. Thielen's played extremely well this season. He was a guy who was being extremely undervalued in the pre-draft process, and just to see him continue to impress really isn't surprising, because the disrespect that he was getting was borderline absurd. He was going in that 4th or 5th round, and he was easily a guy who was going to finish as a top 15 wide receiver. He is currently wide receiver 2 on the year. This was so obvious, especially with the loss of Stephon Diggs this offseason, that Thielen was going to be the guy, like the number one option in Minnesota. And unfortunately, we all have to Wait, well, this is my water, but we can take this one. We got to pour one out for Justin Jefferson. The matchup was there. The matchup was there. The hot streak was there. And it just didn't materialize. That's something that we got wrong. Myself, every other fantasy analyst. Don't worry, I started him, so if you started him too, I went down with the ship. I went down with you. Justin Jefferson in a prime matchup, or what was supposed to be a prime matchup. Remember, entering this game, Seattle was giving up 41.8 points to the wide receiver position. Jefferson comes in, 3 targets, 5 receptions. I'm sorry, 5 targets, 3 receptions. I always get that number wrong. I get those backwards. 3 receptions, 5 targets for 23 yards. And it was really funny watching this game and just hearing Chris Collinsworth in his commentary just keep trying to anticipate the Justin Jefferson big play, and it just never happened, right? And it was just one of those games where, again, once I realized during that second quarter, and even honestly it was during the first quarter, oh shit, the Vikings are going to kill the clock all game, I knew Justin Jefferson's night was done. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just immediately, it was they're gonna get the ball, they're gonna hand it off. Short pass to move the chains on third down. Hand the ball. Short pass to move the chains on third down, and that was just gonna be the cycle that the Vikings used. I mean, they were just the other thing too is they had 2. I believe it's 2. The Vikings had 2 drives this game that were so methodical that started at Seattle's 5-yard line, and they went all the way downfield, and they just burned clock. So this just had dud game for Justin Jefferson written all over it pretty quickly, and you got to take your medicine sometimes, and this was definitely one of those games. Moving over to the Seahawks, though, Russell Wilson does Russ things. Oh my God! Even in games where he doesn't look great, he had a really bad interception in this game. Russell Wilson, what can you say? Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in football right now. It is lights out. I think the thing that's actually really interesting about Russ, and this is something that is going to sound hyperbolic, but I want you to consider what I'm actually saying here. Russell Wilson might actually be the combination of Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And what I mean by that is he has the playmaking ability with his arm of Patrick Mahomes, but he also has the rushing ability of Lamar. And I just think that's something that we don't fully realize at times. Obviously, we knew that Russell Wilson is just a great quarterback, right? But what he's doing so far this year with the cast of weapons, whether it is Chris Carson on the ground or through the air with him, DK Metcalf, obviously, and Tyler Lockett, this team, this offense truly does feel unstoppable right now in a way that I don't know. See, let's think. I was gonna say I don't know if we've ever seen this per se, but I know saying that is wrong because we saw Baltimore last year and we saw Kansas City the year before and even during the postseason. But basically though, for me, the three pantheon teams right now, it's Kansas City, it's Baltimore, and it's Seattle. And it's so fun. It's so fun to see these 3 great quarterbacks at the top of the league, and all of them are just cooking. And yes, Lamar's played bad, and I've already talked about him in this video. And Russ is just through the roof, and Mahomes is just kind of staying above water, going a bit up and down as he tries to really navigate this post Super Bowl hangover a bit. Regardless, just Seattle. That's the tweet, right? We've been saying this for the past 5 weeks. Start everybody on Seattle. Russ, Carson, Metcalf, Lockett. It's been so much fun to see them ball out. And this was the thing entering the week that I was really talking about, and I've spent a lot of time talking about it already, I feel like. Really just trying to understand what Chris Carson's value is this season, because the big thing was, well, if Let Russ Cook happens, does that tank Chris Carson's value? And really trying to figure out where I personally landed on that, because the argument is, yes, it tanks his value because he's not going to get the goal line work, and he might get limited rushing attempts. But then if they let Russ cook and this offense is better, that means that they're going to move the ball, score more points, and they can really do more things on offense. And I think the second part, the latter, is where I'm at. Because we've seen now Chris Carson with 2 games this year where he's had carries of 6 and 8 respectively, and he's still getting in the end zone. He's still getting it done. In a game like this with 8 carries, he gets 6 receptions, right? Finishes the game with 16.9 fantasy points in half-point formats. It really is impressive. So I'm at this point now, like, Chris Carson, like, you're good. I have no worries for Chris Carson moving forward. I knew I never really had great concerns. It was just one of those things we're trying to evaluate what Chris Carson actually was for fantasy purposes this season. I have my answer, and he is legitimately a top 5 running back for the rest of the year. He is that impressive for this team. DK Metcalf, I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say? He is the number 1 wide receiver in standard. He's number 4 in PPR. 90-plus receiving yards in every single game. A touchdown machine. He's 6'4". He's a monster human being. He's fast. He's strong. He's physical. He's athletic. I'm at a loss for words. This wasn't unexpected from me. If you've listened to my history with DK Metcalf, you guys know how much I loved him. I loved him coming out of college. I thought it was absurd that he wasn't drafted in the first round. I thought it was absurd that multiple teams passed on him twice. The Packers passed on him 3 times. Drafting, again, isn't this hard. If NFL GMs and just GMs in general and all sports make drafting way more complicated than it needs to be, DK Metcalf was a surefire pick coming out of college, and the fact that there was questions about his game was utterly insane. So to see him come out and do this in year 2 and just continue to absolutely set the game on fire is super fucking dope. I tweeted about this yesterday. JJ Zacharyson tweeted that DK Metcalf is Dynasty wide receiver 1, and I said, not now. JJ, I'm grieving. If you guys don't know the story, I traded DK Metcalf in June. This would have been, when was my rookie draft? My rookie draft was June 30th. I'm not June, I'm in August. My rookie draft was August 30th. And there was a deal all offseason long between me and another owner who loves DK just as much as I do. And the offer was going to be A.J. Brown and a second-round pick for DK Metcalf. And we were both kind of on the fence for it. All off season long. I mean, that was a deal that was being discussed in June. And then the draft happens in August, and he actually takes the running back that I really wanted, and that was Zach Moss coming into his rookie season in Buffalo. So after the draft, I'm like, hey, I'll do it. I'll do DK for A.J. Brown and Zach Moss. Deal was done pretty much immediately, and again, the reason why I did that deal, and I was explaining this on Twitter yesterday. I still think this is a great deal. A.J. Brown, we haven't seen on the field yet, but we know what he's done during his rookie season. And it's funny, out last night to cope with DK Metcalf, I actually went through and I was putting on A.J. Brown highlights and watching those to make myself feel better about the trade. Because it's no fun seeing you trade away the number 1 wide receiver, right? And you're seeing everybody just gas him up and just praise DK Metcalf. So it's never fun to see that after you just traded him away. But I haven't been able to see my side of the deal on the field yet, right? A.J. Brown was hurt with that knee injury and obviously the COVID games. And then for Zach Moss, who's battling a toe injury for the past few weeks as well. So I haven't been able to see my end of the deal. But regardless, I felt like I was getting back a top 5 wide receiver in return, like in terms of like career trajectory, right? So like I felt like DK and AJ were on the same trajectory, all things considered. They were both going to be top 3, top 5 wide receivers. And then just getting the additional asset in Zach Moss back, and I've talked about this in this video, how much I love running backs and just the value that running backs hold to me. It was almost a no-brainer to make that deal. And I got the running back that I wanted to draft in my rookie draft anyway. So I'm still fine with the deal. Just hurts a little bit because I haven't been able to see my end of the bargain hold up.